The first thing I want to do is I want to take this box out of the wall. If you don't have a box in the wall, it's just a hole in the wall. What you want to do is you want to make this a nice square. So anywhere there's a rough edge, a circle, you want to try to make this as even as square as possible. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make an even square on here. So I'm going to take this square plate because that's what I have. I'll take my pencil and I'm going to outline it. So it doesn't matter whether that's a circle, a fist, a foot. We're going to make this a nice even hole. Then what we're going to do is we're going to take a template like this, and we're going to put this over our new piece of sheetrock. We're going to cut the template the same exact size as this hole, and it should fit perfectly. We're going to get something to go behind it so we can screw it into. Then we're going to mud up the edges. So I'm going to cut this out. Luckily for me, I've got a power tool. It doesn't matter whether you have a razor knife, jab saw, really sharp kitchen knife. I actually cut this out. It's a little bit bigger than my plate, which is what I wanted. So I'm going to go cut a template out, and we're going to get something to block the back of this, and we're going to put the, I've actually got a piece of sheetrock laying around. If you don't have any sheetrock laying around, if you go to Lowe's, they sell little small 1x1, 2x2 pieces off of their scrap stuff that gets damaged in the store. So I'm just going to take this back corner, I'm going to line this up, and like I said, I'm going to make a little square here. I hold it off the edge of my table so I don't cut a hole in my table. Right back over to our hole in the wall. I'm just going to take the piece that we cut and I'm going to fit it. Do not drop it down the hole in your wall. And I'm fitting in there pretty good. So now we got to get something to go behind this that we can screw into the wall here. So we can screw this piece to the wall too so it doesn't fall out, or later on it doesn't warp and crack your mud. Now again, I've got a piece of wood just laying around because that's what I've got. You can use just about anything to go behind there. I've used a ruler, a paint stick. You're better if you can get a piece of like 1x, that way the screws will actually bite into it better. But really all you need is something to hold that in place until the spackle sets up around it. Mine's behind a door up high, so the odds of it getting hit, leaned on, pushed on are less likely than it was in the middle of the wall. But if this was behind a door or something like that where a doorknob had hit, you definitely want something solid behind it, so if it hits it again, it doesn't just break your mud. What I want to do is I want to take my plug, and I want enough room on each side of that to screw into the sheetrock. So I'm only going to leave a couple fingers on each side. This does not have to be precise. This is just kind of a... So it'll leave me about 2 inches, inch and a half on each side. Same tool. If you don't own one of these, buy one. This is a phenomenal little tool. I could have got a chop saw out, skill saw out, but for what I'm doing with one little piece, that's perfect. Okay, so what I want to do with this, I'm going to put it in the wall. You're going to have to probably angle it back. I've got insulation behind mine, so it makes it a little more tough, but... And if you don't have insulation behind the wall, don't let go of it like I just did, because it'll drop right down there and you'll be starting over. So I'm just kind of getting this in position. I'm getting my insulation out of the way. And I've left enough room on the top and the bottom I can get my finger in there and hold it in place. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a sheetrock screw and my impact. I'm actually going to turn it a little bit more so I can get a good grip on it. So I've got it angled up there. I'll put my first screw in it. And as you can see, it drew it up. I didn't pull it in all the way yet because I want to be able to turn it downward. I'm going to loosen it just a little bit. Oops, too much. So it won't fall to the wall now. So I've got it where I want it. I'm going to snug that up, and I'm going to turn it so the screw actually goes deeper into the wall a little bit. Once I get it in the wall, I'll put this side in, and I cut my wire behind it. I'll start this side. Again, I'm going to just get enough up to get a hold of it. Once that tights, it'll draw it tighter. And we just want to go in a little bit where the sheetrock head will get, or the screw will get covered up. I'm going to put 2 on each side. Again, don't over tighten it, just snug it up. And the next thing I want to do is I want to take our plug. And you can try this a couple different, you can do it upside down, right side up. Sometimes it fits a little bit better one way than the other. If you cut it right though, it should be pretty close, but like I said, mine fits a little bit better actually this way, so I'm gonna put it in this way. And I know where my wood is, so I'm gonna put one up here. And again, just below the surface, and you'll notice this is not perfect, but it's pretty darn close to being as level as you can get it. I'll take one more. And again, just under the surface, so our mud fills it in. And that's the big part of the patch done. So what I want to do is I want to take this block, and I'm just going to hit the corners of it and the edges to make sure I don't have anything sticking up past where it should be. And it's actually pretty smooth. Make sure when you go to Lowe's or when you get your sheetrock, most houses are 1/2 inch sheetrock. If you buy 1/4 inch sheetrock, it's going to sit way in. If you buy 5/8 sheetrock, it's going to stick way past. So make sure you get the right depth sheetrock. If you're in doubt, before you or once you cut the hole out, you can take a tape measure and measure the depth. Next step, spackle. Some people like, you can use regular mud if you want. I just prefer this because it goes on easier. And since we're kind of doing a DIY project at home, this is probably what most people would buy is the pink stuff because it turns white when you're done. You don't want to cake this on. We're not trying to fill the entire hole at one time. We're trying to build up a kind of a level around it. So we're going to do this just like you were painting a wall. I want to get a light coat on it. I'm going to fill in the screw holes like so. Now I'm taking my blade and I'm pushing it against the wall. I'm not pushing hard, but I'm dragging it straight down. And that way your mud's even. Anywhere your mud's not even, you'll leave a little dip like that. So if you pull straight down, you'll see the holes actually fill in. All right, we're gonna wait till that dries and then we're gonna put another coat on it. Once we get another coat on it, then I'm gonna sand it down and then we'll be ready for paint. Checking back, it's been about 15 minutes. As you can see, we've still got some pink in there, so I'm gonna give it another 10 or 15 minutes to dry. You could put your second coat of mud on now. Personally, I like to wait till it's completely dry. You're less likely to have little breaks and flakes come out of there. So we're gonna give it a little bit longer to dry. Once all the pink is gone, we'll be ready for the next one. Just put another coat on it. When you're putting this on, make sure you use a nice clean blade. And make sure you've got a nice smooth edge on it. The rougher you make this surface, the more it's going to be sanding to clean it up at the end. So you want to make sure you get it as smooth as possible. I'm going to start this at the top. So I've just got a little heavy, and again, light-handed, pull straight down. And you'll be able to tell where all the low spots are and the high spots are. So you don't want to force it in there, and this may take 3 coats. You just want to work it all around. Got a little edge right there, so I'm going across here. This is high, this is low. So I'm going across this way. I'll go down this side's smooth. As you can see, by pulling lightly, you'll feel the blade hit the spots that are low. And if it takes 3 coats, it takes 3. So once you get to the point where you're pushing your own mud back out of the holes, it doesn't do you any good. Now this one we're going to leave a little bit more rough than the first one. But anywhere we've got excess mud on the outside edges, we're going to take it out. So like out there, I'm going to scrape that off. This is pretty smooth there. And what I've got left over, I'm just going to hit a couple other little small dents and divots in the wall that I need to fix. And again, push in straight with your blade, and that'll give you a nice finish that you're not having to sand for 20-30 minutes on. I'm not liking the way that corner looks, so I'm just going to put a little bit extra on that corner. And what I'm doing is I'm feathering this into the wall, so when we paint it, you'll never tell that there's a hole there. And then we're going to give that a good hour to dry. One more thing when I'm making these repairs, as you can see here, I've actually got paper that's sticking out on the wall. You've got to remove all this old paper before you try to fix your problem. If you don't get rid of the paper will just peel underneath of your spackle. So you want to take it, and you actually want to take your putty knife, you want to take a knife, razor knife, and you want to get rid of that paper. Even if it tears back a little bit, you don't want that paper and paint mixing, because you'll just leave a mess on the wall. Sorry about that camera angle. So I'm just taking a nice clean knife and scraping all the extra off. Anything that I couldn't get off with the putty knife, I would take a knife and cut it off. So push hard, scrape all your excess off. So I'm down to paper, but again, you don't want any loose edges. You don't want any frills sticking out, or it's just going to cause problems in the future. And if you have to dig down in a little bit, that's okay. Dig down in, because you're going to fill it up anyhow. Once I get that done, it's the same as patching the other hole. I'm just going to mud it. And you'll see you'll actually fill in to where you cut the paper out of it. And it will leave a smooth edge instead of a rough paper edge that you can't really sand out very well. And again, once I get it on there, I'm taking my knife, I'm putting it flat on the wall. I'm not putting a lot of pressure on it, but I'm dragging it across there to get all the excess off of the wall, so I don't have to sand for days. This is my garage wall, so I'm not too worried about it being perfect. All right, we've been about an hour, hour and a half. I'm going to take 2 sanding blocks here. I've got one that's a more coarse grit, and then I got a finer grit one. We're just going to hit this. I'm not pushing down at all. I'm letting the sandpaper do the work with the sanding block. And I want to just kind of go in a circular motion. And then anywhere we got some high spots and low spots, this is probably going to need hit one more time. By going in a circle and forcing it outward, or pushing it outward, basically I'm feathering it into the rest of the wall. So it kind of tapers in. Actually, that's going to be fine without that. After I hit it with the coarse one, I'm going to hit it with a fine one. Again, if this was inside your house, you may hit it one more time, but since this is in my garage, that's going to be a nice finish. You want to take a damp cloth here. I'm just going to wipe over the edge. And then I was going to leave this inside the house. I would definitely do it again, but there's just a little tiny hump right here. I don't think it's going to matter in my case, so I'm going to paint it. And the last thing I have to do is roll the paint on. See how I cut my edges in.